Alright, Oliver, welcome to episode 12. In this episode we're going to be setting up a ground anchor for our communications tower, which is kind of a pain in the butt. You got to have the ground anchor in your inventory and click on that little white button to install it. And then once you do, you will be adding the docking port to the top of it, and for that you need to be in the engineering tab. Plop it on there and then he will weld it into place. From this point we just get out of the way and we can toggle over to our ground tower, which we left kind of in a little valley about 300 meters away, and we'll drive it on over. First we need to get the orbital space station in the right position so it can relay our communications, because once again this is using a drone probe core, so it needs a direct communications with Planet Kerbin. I could have installed a little Kerbal seat on it so that a Kerbal could jump on and drive it. In that case we wouldn't need the communications relay. But you can see that I pass it up a little bit, so we have to realign it, and then also the suspension on these wheels isn't maneuverable. I assumed it was when I was building it, so I thought I could just remove the spring strength and then it would drop down close enough to the docking port to dock. But alas, I couldn't get to move down at all, so now I need to grab a Kerbal engineer to come on over and remove those tires. And I don't know how on earth it stayed in that position without rolling down the hill, because normally when you leave a rover unattended it's just going to roll to the lowest point because it doesn't have a parking brake. So it must have been the Kraken, I don't know. And then for some reason when I dropped the tires they decided to jump way up in the air. It's like popcorn. And I got really lucky they didn't land on the solar panels. They got really close. It would have shattered the solar panels and ruined the base. Lucky for me that it didn't though, so I just went over and picked that closest one. I don't know if they're going to jump up again and over or what, so I wanted to get it out of there. And there's no telling what direction it's going to bounce. So I was just playing with fate here, hoping that I wouldn't hit the solar panel. And we'll just go ahead and store these wheels so we can slap them on something else later on if we need to. Kind of a funny game defect. So now we're going to toggle between so we can get to the tower itself, and all we have to do at this point, now that it's docked, is activate the hinges to raise the tower up. And I did put the RCS thrusters on just in case the hinge wasn't going to be strong enough based on the weight of the tower versus the lunar gravity, but it worked out just fine. So voila, our communications tower is all set up. I would assume in real life that you would want redundancies. You probably have several communications towers place so that if one breaks you would have a second one to take over while you fixed the broken one. But that would just lead to like 400 episodes of the Oliver series, and I think even Oliver, you're going to get tired of watching these. So lucky for us, we're kind of coming up on the end. I think the last thing we have left to do after we set up our science experiments and so forth is to get a rover down here so we can do some hot rodding and maybe some lunar excavating to look for maybe some precious metals or some water deposits so that we can create oxygen and maybe hydrogen for fuel, or maybe even just drinkable water. And at this point I was just tinkering with these science experiments, seeing what the options you had to set them up. sort of just housekeeping stuff. So here we are. This is the end of episode 12. And we look forward to seeing you in episode 13.